Chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime releases in just weeks, and today I wanted to go over everything we know about the chapter, from rumors, new game mechanics, new monsters, locations, release dates, and a bunch of other updates coming here in 2024 super soon. So starting off simple, one of the biggest questions people have about the chapter is what characters and monsters are going to be in the game. Since first starting off with monsters, right now we only ever see 3 in the title. Dog Day, who is a weird stitched up human-like creation that is so far the only character we've ever seen attack the player in the chapter. Catnap, of course, who is the main antagonist and will likely be the one giving us the most problems, along with the Prototype, who isn't ever physically shown in any teasers or trailers, but in the chapter 3 ARG is essentially described to be Catnap's best friend and godlike figure, so we can pretty much 100% expect him to make an appearance in the chapter as well. But there's also a ton of other characters coming in the game that we don't really know much about, since thanks to the release of the Smiling Critters characters, we now know that there are a ton of other monsters coming into the chapter, like Bubba Bubbafin, Picky Piggy, Crafty Corn, Hoppy Hopscotch, Bobby Bear Hug, and Kickin' Chicken, all who will likely make an appearance in some way. In fact, in one of the chapter 3 ARG CCTV tapes, as I'm sure you guys already know, we even saw a Bobby Bear Hug plush, but this time not as a big scary monster like the rest, rather instead as a small little moving stuffed animal, suggesting outside of the many big evil monsters we see antagonizing us in the chapter, the plushes themselves might also come to life in some way, which will be super cool. And this isn't even mentioning some of the returning characters, with the only 2 currently being Poppy Playtime and Kissy Missy, who are seen once in the trailer actually working together with us, which makes sense for Kissy since she's been seen to have helped the player before, but I'm very much questioning what Poppy is doing in the equation, considering she literally betrayed the player in the last minute of chapter 2, but that's a topic for another theory video. The most mysterious confirmed character, though, that not many people are really talking about is the Phone, which is a character who we've seen once in the screening room for Project Playtime and twice in 2 separate chapter 3 trailers. So whatever this phone is for, it's extremely important, and in the Project Playtime screening room, we are even told to be expecting a call from it sometime soon. So perhaps when chapter 3 releases, there will be some more information relating to the Phone creature. Some other characters have also been speculated to return in the chapter, like Huggy Wuggy, who makes a minor appearance in some form of a VHS tape. That seems like an odd detail for them to just put in the game for no reason, especially since it seems like it's going to be some type of audio tape that gives us some lore clues. But people also think this could be the time where we see Braun the dinosaur make an appearance of his own finally in the game, since in his own VHS tape released in early 2023 called Restricted Restoration, an old employee named Thomas Clark was diagnosed with cancer and therefore volunteered to be created into a Braun toy. And that Thomas Clark name would come up later in the chapter 3 ARG, as it was confirmed he worked as a pediatrician in the Playcare chapter 3's main location, meaning that assuming this Braun doll survived the experiments, he probably is hanging around the factory in chapter 3 somewhere. And this is among many other employees like Stella Graber, who was confirmed to be a former worker in the Playcare as well. But outside of the characters, one of the biggest parts of chapter 3 is the new gameplay, because thanks to the recently released gameplay trailer, we can finally see what the game is going to look like with a bunch of new features, including a brand new GrabPack with a purple hand that allows you to jump across the factory, and even the highly anticipated gas mask that we put on whenever there's red smoke around the area, along with some additions to the general electric puzzles as well, which is super cool. Plus, I'm sure as you guys have already noticed, the game looks significantly better than the other 2 chapters, thanks to the game being created in Unreal Engine 5, which will likely make the game a bit harder to run, but makes it look much better as a trade-off. Not to mention, outside of the trailer, the developers have told us a few other things about the gameplay on their Discord server, such as them claiming on multiple occasions that this chapter is going to be extremely scary, focusing mainly on the horror factor, even claiming that future chapters are just going to be scarier, and that there are going to be more scripted chase sequences like the Mommy Longlegs and Huggy Wuggy ones, while also saying many people found the Mommy Longlegs scene specifically frustrating, so they're trying to avoid that style. And transitioning here, there will also be a ton of new chapter 3 locations I want to talk and theorize about as well. And starting off simply, as we've mentioned a million times on this channel already, the entire game takes place in the Playtime Co's orphanage program. However, similar to the game station from chapter 2, we've seen there are a ton of different sub areas in the Playcare, chapter, including Home Sweet Home, the school area, the prisoner/playground area, the employee area, and the underground area. And starting most importantly, the Home Sweet Home area is the place we see the most in all of the Playcare, which is where all of the children were held and presumably were put to sleep by the main antagonist Catnap. And this area includes a ton of bunk beds to, of course, house all of the children when they lived here. And in some shots from the trailer, we can even see outside of Home Sweet Home showing a whole outdoor day-night facade at the top, looking very similar to some of the old scrapped versions of the game station from Chapter 2. But then the next area is the school, which is another abandoned area where the kids would presumably go to learn about things in classrooms, which is a minor area, but it looks super cool anyway, and we can even see some more fake windows and stuff as well. Next, there is the prison/playground area, which might be the most important part of the entire game, since so far this is an area we've only seen a couple times with colorful padded walls everywhere, and this is where toys like Dog Day were locked up, and in other teasers we could even see massive prison gates that either held the toys or possibly the actual orphans in the factory, as dark as it sounds. This is also where we see Bobby Bear Hug. But then the two most mysterious areas are the employee area and the underground area. The employee area is generally speaking where most of the game is taking place, because it's where we see all of the GrabPack puzzles, piston areas, abandoned storage areas, among many others. But what makes it so mysterious is that we can also in some shots see containers of where the red gas from Catnap is being created. So perhaps this is where we can finally figure out what this red gas is for, or maybe even some of the experimentation on the toys. The most interesting area of all of them, though, that not many people are talking about is the underground area, which is a place in the Playcare that is barely ever shown off inside of the game's teasers, except for in two instances. One in this screenshot of Home Sweet Home, where there is a big hole presumably leading into the area, and once more in this cave-like area where the infamous prototype shrine is being kept, which is a very odd place to put it that hopefully will hide some more secrets as well, along with other locations that we haven't even seen yet. But now this brings us to the most important question. When in the world will Chapter 3 finally release after its delay? And well, we have a better idea than you might think. See, Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 recently got delayed after it was originally supposed to drop in December of 2023, but the original post announcing the delay had said the game was delayed several weeks into 2024. And the term several is a pretty general statement, but according to its core definition, it implies more than two, but not many. And judged from the fact that they said weeks and not months, it also implies that it's not going to be like next season in spring or anything, and rather it'll likely be within the first 2 to 3 months of the year at the latest. In fact, what I found very interesting is that the developers have also confirmed that there is going to be one more gameplay trailer releasing here in January, and that's actually a pretty big deal, since judged from the past trailers for Chapter 1, 2, and most recently Project Playtime, the developers usually like to release their games within a few weeks to a couple months after they release their final trailer, assuming there's no delays, of course in order to build hype for the release. And many people have theorized that this could happen with Chapter 3 as well, releasing at the absolute latest in March, at least in theory. Especially since, if you didn't know, the developers actually closed their offices from December 18th all the way until January 2nd. So for a good 2 weeks, the game wasn't even being developed and wasn't having any updates come to it. But this means that if they were originally planning to drop the game somehow in December, presumably before the 18th on their break, and also are still planning on releasing a whole nother trailer in January, that likely means that they are extremely close to finishing up the chapter and are doing some final polishing. And while obviously things have slowed down for Chapter 3 news with the holiday and everything, I would honestly expect that we could maybe get this new trailer announcement and release as early as week 1 or 2 of January. And then of course that trailer will presumably give us the final Chapter 3 release date. Comment down below your prediction for when this new trailer will release. But moving on from Chapter 3, also in terms of other things we can expect this year in 2024, the developers in 2023 announced a full-blown orientation notebook that drops on May 7th, which will be the first book released in the franchise, and it even advertises itself as containing exclusive new lore. And also, while the game is going through a ton of problems right now, the Poppy Playtime spin-off Project Playtime also should get an update in the next couple months, as the developers have previously confirmed Catnap, the Chapter 3 main antagonist, will be added into the game, and presumably the rest of the Chapter 4 and 5 characters as they come out as well. And speaking of which, if we are lucky, we could even expect towards the end of the year to get some updates and progress on a chapter 4, which I would expect to release in 2025.